We're
Okay,
back
there we
on.
go.
Thank you.
But thank you, thank you, thank you all for joining us here on this Love Thursday morning. As always, I'm Alex Weidenhammer, Director of Workforce Education with the Illinois Community College Board. Okay, so just to begin, if you haven't already done so, please enter your name and your college in the chat. We do this for record keeping purposes. And for today, we have a pretty stocked agenda. The first thing that I want to kind of touch base on is the expenditure rating so far for the FY26 NSAW grant and kind of have a conversation regarding where we are exactly at in comparison to the total budget for the year, and just have a general conversation about any expenditure questions or comments that you might have also. The second item on our agenda is actually the FY27 rendition of the grant. As I'm just going to say this now, we're releasing the info here on the 21st, so tomorrow. So we're excited for another year of NSAW funding. We've seen a lot of great things over the past few years, and we're looking to continue the trend. So I'm going to share some general updates regarding that and the upcoming technical assistance sessions and so on and so forth. And just to reorient, just as we're getting ready to start a new grant cycle, I next want to focus on just what the core mission and the objectives are again of the NSAW grant. I know that everyone's very familiar with them, but once again, we just kind of want to touch base just to kind of reorient before we jump into the next round of the grant for FY27. And then for the next item, before our finishing grant logistics, we're going to kind of have a general discussion about a few items that have kind of come up over the past few weeks regarding the NSAW grant. And this is going to be kind of an open forum discussion. I have a few questions that I've proposed to the group, but anything else that you might have on your mind as a question as we jump into the new grant year, we're going to take some time to open the floor for any comments. So with that, a quick update on our expenditures, and I'm going to kind of minimize the window here so we can all see. So we've had 3 years going on 4 grant cycles of the NSAW grant, right? And so, what I really like to do is kind of look at the data of exactly how things are comparing from grant year to grant year. And so, with the general update for the expenditures, you can see here, when it comes to the expenditure ratings as of Q2 for each of the grants, we are very, very close to being on track from what we've seen in previous grant years. For FY26, as you can see here, for our total Q2 expenditures, which is 1.15 million of the total 4.83 million, shows that we've kind of hit our rhythm with the NSAW grant, right? With the FY24 rendition of the grant, that was sort of the first year that this funding was available. So we noticed that expenditures were a little bit lower than what we've seen so far, or what we've seen with the grant. And as we kind of continue on with the grant, this is something that I like to do, just kind of touch base with everybody to show where exactly we are in terms of spending the money that's been appropriated for this grant. And I guess one thing that I wanted to add in here real quick too is we know that there are some challenges with that many of you have encountered with spending down funds with the NSAW grant, namely. And I just kind of want to open the floor. Is anybody experiencing any sort of unforeseen issues with their expenditures? Any challenges that they've encountered? Anything that you had questions about when it comes to expending funds for the grant? Is there anything in the back of your mind? Well, we'd really like to try to use our money towards providing scholarships, or if there is equipment that you're wanting to purchase. What I want to do is just kind of open the floor to everyone to see if anybody had any questions regarding the use of funds, allowability, so on and so forth. And you
This is
can
Kristen
type in
from
the chat if
Illinois
you'd like
Central.
to.
Oh,
Oh, hi, Kristen.
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi.
No, you're fine.
So we don't have problems with it, but we did end up having where we added on we put some micro-credential add-ons to our campus CE registration system and did some updating with that to make it more functionable
Okay.
for us and for the users. And so like we will have some budget modification requests because they ended up giving us a break in the cost of it because we do so much work with them. So
Okay.
and we would like to utilize that for training instead, because that's going to be more beneficial for our employers in the area. So like things like that, but also summer. I know Q2 always seems like there's not enough money was spent, But in the summer, the just in
Mhm.
general training frequency goes down for customized, for employer trainings and things like that. But like we're ramping up for fall and we've already got a bunch of spends already starting. So 'cause we have some
Yeah.
programming underway. So
Yeah. And Kristen, I think that's a good point. Kind of, we look at the trends of the total amount of funds that are being spent by quarter two. And I think just kind of as a benchmark, we look usually around maybe like the 25%, right? Uh, but we also know that the grant cycle itself kind of also plays a role in that. During the summer, maybe enrollments are a little bit lower, not as much programming. And when quarter three ramps up, that's really, I believe, the beginning of the fall semester for everybody, right? So I think that what you just said there, ramping up for quarter three, has really kind of been the trend over the past few years as well. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. Did anybody else have any questions, any comments, any concerns? And I see something's popping up there in the chat. Brittany or Dalton, if you could, I
Yeah.
can't when I'm sharing, it's kind of finicky on.
Yep. Nope, you're good.
Sure.
So let's see here. Lindsay said we had retirements of several CTE faculty, so we had to pivot some ideas and we'll look at a budget modification soon. And then Billy responded with, we're really feeling on track. We'll be submitting a budget modification request to move some unspent funds into tuition from other lines that will be unspent.
Excellent. Yeah. And kind of going off of Billy's comment there, when it comes to the install grant, we had a question a while back that came from one of the colleges, and they said, well, can we help students with their tuition costs, and can we help participants with scholarships and things like that? So just as a reminder, that is definitely a way that you can utilize funds for the install grant, kind of removing that financial barrier for students. That's one thing I like to keep in the back of everybody's mind when they're going throughout the grant cycle. If like you do have some unspent funds, that is always an option that you could do a budget modification if you don't already have funds within that line item, and so on and so forth. So yeah. And it seems like we always do a review, and I always send out a projected expenditure that's a requirement of the grant. And it seems that for the most part, things are on track with all the spending, and which I want to give everyone kudos for that. I know that is always a challenge and always kind of a Herculean task to manage a grant like this. So just wanted to give you all, you know, congratulations for all the hard work that you do in this as well. And I think I saw another chat came in. Brittany, is there
Yep.
anything?
Yes. Oh,
Sure.
we got a couple more coming in. Okay, so Christy, we have learned from our architect that construction is delayed on our training loading dock. We'll submit a budget modification
Hmm.
request to move the funds. And
Okay.
then Lindsay says, shout out to people with several ICCB grants.
Yes, very, yeah. I know everyone's kind of wears different hats here on the call today, and I can imagine trying to manage all the ICCB grants can be kind of a hard task. So, gotta give yourself a pat on the back for that, right? Um, and yeah, and as always, just another thing to remind everybody of, if there are any unforeseen changes within your scope of work or within your current spending plan for the grant, budget modifications and scope modification changes are also an option for everybody. Um, and the process is actually the form itself is on our ICCB grants. Chris, if is it grant resources or is it our grant opportunities page? I couldn't quite remember what page that's on our website.
Grant resources. Grant opportunities will be where the NOFO posts tomorrow.
Really no. Okay. Yes. Thank you. So yeah, so on our resources page, there is the budget modification form. It's a jot form format, and it gives you all the instructions and all the required templates for that. I accidentally bumped our page there forward. So that's always an option for everybody as well. So, okay. All right. Were there any other Any other comments before I jump into our FY27 outline?
I don't see any more in the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to jump right into it. So, as I said, the FY27 NOFO is scheduled to be released tomorrow, August 21st. So, once again, we're really excited for another year of funding. The full announcement, and this is once I share out these slides with our listserv, this is actually the link to our grant opportunities and information webpage. That's where all of the materials for the grant, the NOFO, the uniform application, the budget templates, and then also the project overview template. And then something else that we've added new for this year is a narrative template as well. And that's something that I'll talk about on our technical assistance session, which is going to be on September 1st, which is actually the next point. And a link for that can actually be found in the NOFO as well. So as always, be sure to review the NOFO in its entirety. I will say one thing, there hasn't been a large, and Chris, I see your message here. I'll get you in the TA session for that. We haven't made any large structural changes to the NSAW grant. The overall objectives still maintain the same, but there have been some things that we have kind of been continually improving on for the FY27 grant. And that's why the last point says it's very important that everyone attends that technical assistance session on September 1st. In years past, we've hosted 2 sessions, but for this year, we're going to host 1 session. And I believe it's from 10 to 11:30 on that Tuesday, September 1st. So be sure to mark your calendars. And then once you receive the NOFO, the link for that is in there, and you can go ahead and add that to your calendars. Like I said, there's not any large structural changes. We're not changing the whole rhythm of the grant, but there are some important pieces that we're going to be updating everybody on regarding the next year of grant funding. So, does anybody have any questions about the FY27 grant?
Hi, Alex. I'm just looking at my calendar. Did you send an invite out for next Wednesday's meeting already?
No, so it's
No.
so it's within the NOFO. So when you
Oh,
receive the
okay.
NOFO, you
We'll
can
get it.
use that to add that to your.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Just want to make sure I'm there.
No, yeah, understandable.
Thank you.
And I think I saw, Brittany, was there a comment that came into the chat there?
Yeah, it's asking when the application is due.
The application will be due September 24th, and that's going to be in the NOFO as well. So September 24th, I probably should have put that here on the slide, but that is when the applications will be back due to the ICCB. And the instructions for submittal are also in the NOFO as well. You'll just send them to the iccb.noncredit@illinois.gov email, which that's in the NOFO as well.
Alex, it's Elish again. Could I ask you another question? Are you allowed to share the amount at this point, or we have to wait until we receive the invite tomorrow?
Well, I would say that it's about on par with what we've had in the past. Our funding, it's 4.85 million, I think, off the top of my head, and I think it's the same amount of funding for colleges will be able to request up to 110,000 for the grant.
I have a question, Irina Klein from Wharton College. Could you please highlight the main difference, if any, for the next year's grant from this year's?
So the differences, it's mostly some questions that we've had over the past year were regarding student record keeping. I think that we've talked about that in previous operational meetings. We have kind of nailed down a process of exactly what information we're needing the colleges to keep on record for all their trainings and all their services. That's one area that's going to be talked about during the TA session. We have some guidance surrounding food allowability as well, sort of a new process that we're putting in for FY27. We know that we've had a lot of lunch and learns here over the past few years, and we're trying to make sure that we're keeping a handle on the allowability of expenses for grant. And one update that we've also made is I mentioned earlier, there is now a narrative template that we're going to be using for the grant as well. It is a instructional document. It's a Microsoft Word where I have input instructions and designated headers for each section of the grant. That'll be a requirement for everybody to use. It's just a simple, like I said, a Word template that everyone will be required to use to submit their narratives, just to help keep things organized and kind of help us within our reading process. So Levon and I, once we receive all these grants, we're the two readers for them. So we're reading everybody's grants, and we try to make sure that everything is clearly organized, all the data is delineated properly. And there have been some updates to the project overview template, just an additional measure. I'll just go ahead and say that we've added for FY27, which focuses on the amount of projected credentials that you are proposing to award throughout the grant cycle. So those are the major changes. Like I said, there's nothing large or structural with the grant. The focus still remains the same. And I'm going to kind of talk about that here on the next slide once we kind of reorient ourselves. But just a few, I guess, sort of logistical items with the grant are going to be the main changes. So great. That's a great question. And like I said, we're going to explain a lot more in depth during that TA session. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay. Thumbs up. Thanks,
Alex, we did have one question come through. So will this be moving to UNA?
As of now, no. So everything within the NSAW grant, we use JotForm for like quarterly reports and for a lot of our process for the NSAW grant. We are not using UNA for the current year. We're going to keep doing the same process as we had in the past years.
I have another question. I know we talked this year a lot about non-credit to credit transition, and that being one of the core parts of the grant. Could you please talk a little bit more how non-credit to credit transition work will be applicable for the next year's grant?
Yes. Okay. So a lot of you have probably worked with our consultant that we're using she's been working on the non-credit to credit transition work with the NSAW grant, Patty Zuccarello. She is going to continue to work on the grant itself, providing the more individual one-on-one technical assistance to the colleges. And she is also preparing a non-credit to credit transition handbook, which is going to be a resource for everybody once that is released. We're kind of on the final stages of preparing that to be released to everyone. One change when it comes to the non-credit to credit transitions is that if you've began work on a particular program in past grant cycles, you are able to continue that work in the subsequent or next grant cycle as well. We know that this process is long, it's arduous, there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and we want to be sure that grantees are able to fully focus on a project that they've maybe started in a previous grant cycle moving on to FY27 as well. So it's still going to be a component of the grant for FY27, and we're continuing the technical assistance with Patty and kind of change how that exactly plays out as you're moving that portion of the grant forward. You may choose to work on a new articulation process for a new program if you'd like to for FY27, but once again, you're not obligated to. You're able to continue working on, say, if you started a particular program in FY26 and you're like, well, we're still working on this, trying to flesh things out, get all the moving pieces in order, you're able to continue into FY27 as well. Okay. Brittany, did you say was there a comment in the chat?
No, that was just asking if it was moving to UNA.
Oh, moving to UNA. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions regarding the FY27 grant? Okay. I'm going to take that as a no. We'll keep continuing here. Okay, and I'm going to minimize our faces here real quick so we can see everything. So once again, as we're getting ready to jump into a new grant cycle, we really wanted to focus and hone in on what exactly are the core objectives of our our install grant. As you can see here, the three main objectives that we're still focusing on are the same from FY26, right? Expanding non-credit program offerings, offering business solutions and services to employers, and then also increasing the affordability of non-credit training for students. We wanted to make sure that everyone knew that there weren't going to be any significant changes for FY27. One question that we had, both Levon and I had received questions from some of the colleges regarding the focus of the install grant, where some colleges were, I guess, kind of concerned that the grant was becoming more focused on just the customized training, employer focused, employer connected, rather the term we use, portion of the grant, rather than the occupational based training programs that are offered in-house through the install grant as well. And just to remind everybody, there are really two prongs when it comes to trainings for this grant. There is the customized training sort of portion of the grant where you're able to engage with employers and to help them meet their workforce needs and demands. But then also, we want to make sure that people also, I guess, stay focused and realize that it's also allowable to build programs, occupational training programs through the college, these sort of in-house trainings that everyone offers. And I know we use phlebotomy and welding, but there has really been a lot of innovative programs that have been built over the past few years. I mean, we're seeing pre-apprenticeships in construction. We're seeing registered apprenticeships in healthcare. There was partnerships with law enforcement for drone pilot training over the past few years. So just to kind of reorient, for the non-credit program offerings, these can be skill-based open enrollment trainings that culminate in industry-recognized credentials, which once again prepare participants for entry into the workforce, focused on the job training, upskilling of incumbent workers, and then also the customized training for employers. As we said in the past, we try to make sure that the install grant is flexible because we know that for all of you out there in the colleges, you're always having to adapt to whatever the workforce demands are within your districts. And we're trying to be mindful of that with our grant here as well. For services also, services are still a major component, those employer connected services, such as offering business consulting, quality and safety audits, leadership workshops. Essential employability has actually been a really big focus of those services and trainings over the past, moving on to 4 years now for the grant as well. DEI trainings and workshops are also a focus of that as well. And then contract procurement, if you're working with particular types of employers as well. We are still looking to prioritize small businesses, so employers that are 500 employees or less, as well as also minority or women-owned businesses. And the one thing that I also wanted to point out as well is that we know that, like I just said, everything, you're all working and being adaptable, responding to the needs of your college districts and your local employers. So remember that throughout FY27, you may expand the number of employers of which you offer training or business solutions and services as well. So if, say, you propose, we're going to work with 10 employers, but then there might be some sort of challenge that arises within your community, and you say, now we're going to be serving about 20 employers. That's completely allowable. If you choose to work with more employers, that is really the purpose of the grant, right? We're trying to reach as many people and employers as possible with this funding. And then also for the increasing affordability for non-credit training students, this is for particularly those who are low income, or underemployed, or otherwise underrepresented in the sector. This can include offsetting costs of training for participants, whether that's employer connected or non-employer connected, non-credit scholarships, the creation of non-credit apprenticeship programs. Like I said, we've kind of seen a huge uptick in the amount of apprenticeships that are being built through install funding, which is once again great to see. And then increasing the efficiencies with the college to sustain program affordability. So like I said, the main core objectives of the grant are really vital to making sure that this grant itself has an impact on our communities, our students, our employers throughout the state. And we are continuing with that mission as we move into FY27 as well. Were there any questions regarding any of these objectives? Anything in the back of your mind that's you've been itching to ask? Okay. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything. I see one chat popped up here.
Yep. So it asked, is this still non-competitive?
Yes, this is still a non-competitive grant.
Alex, thanks for the opportunity to ask questions. And
Okay.
we don't need to cover all of these topics, right? I mean, if we focus on this, certain aspects of this list, because I feel like the contract procurement, we haven't been doing that. And there's some other areas that we have not been strong in, but, focused on many of the other areas.
Yeah, no, Dave, that's a good question. So these objectives, you don't have to focus on every single one of these, right? We know that some colleges, if you're not focusing particularly on services, but all of your funding and time and effort are going into training, that's completely allowable as well. Yeah. And these objectives within the NOFO that we're going to release, there's a very long list of different activities that you can undertake via the NSAW grant as well. But I think the main core focus is the training, really, right? Preparing those who are underemployed, unemployed, who are job seeking, to part in occupational training to work towards an industry recognized credential value that provides them employment within a expanding sector or an in-demand sector is really the main heart of the grant itself, I would say. But great question, though, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay, and was there a question in the chat, Brittany, or was there?
Nope, that was it.
That was it? Okay. Okay. Well, if that is everything there, we'll move on to our discussion portion for today. So, like I said, I want to take some time to just kind of touch base with everyone regarding the NSAW grant as a whole. I'll move our faces over here. I've put a few topics here that I kind of wanted to touch base on. The first thing that I want to focus on is, right, with the FY27 grant right on our doorstep, I kind of wanted to see where everybody was with their project for FY27. So would anybody like to share the project that you are really excited about working on for this new grant year? You can feel free to type in the chat or just mute yourself, raise your hand, however you'd like to do that.
Alex, I can tell you what I'm working on. If you're So I have offered Spanish in the workplace. This is Eilish from Oakton College. Sorry, I apologize. And
Very fun.
so I offered it to Evanston Library staff, and it was something that they had planned but couldn't afford in their budget. So that was received really well. So that has sort of since led there seems to be a niche for libraries wanting to have this class for their so that their staff can converse easier or better with their patrons. So I am planning on expanding that slightly for next year to 2 other libraries.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's kind of, it seems like it's kind of branching out there. Are there a lot of
Well,
libraries
word of
that you're-
mouth, I guess it was received really, really well. And they told somebody else, and yeah, so that's my plan at this point for next year.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can share. Irina Klein from Morton College. One of the programs I'm excited to add to our grant is entrepreneurship hands-on course. Right now, we're offering entrepreneurship program that leads to employee recognized certification, and we had one cohort who finished it this spring. We're planning another cohort in the fall. But what we found is, in addition to receiving certification, students who are planning to be entrepreneurs really need that hands-on component that will it will lead to a certificate of completion, but it is more centered around really building your business and using what they've learned in the class, in the real life experience, creating a business plan, and actually starting their business or expanding their business if they are already entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to add that course and to complement the current offerings with a hands-on experience for students.
Excellent. Yeah. So, Irina, I got a quick question for you. Are there any organizations that you're working with for the program itself, or is this all in-house sort of there at Morton?
It is in-house right now. However, we do market that class through two chambers of commerce because many of them support small business owners. And while they are already in that entrepreneurship position, they are interested from right now benefiting from getting the certification and then learning more hands-on experiences. So we partner with the chambers of commerce more for recruitment purposes.
Excellent. Yeah, and we've seen over, and that's one other point too. I'm glad that you brought up entrepreneurial programs. That is one area that's been seeming to grow. There are colleges who are offering similar programs here in the state as well. So it's nice to see that that's continuing to be a focus. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Arena. Okay. Was there anybody else who'd like to share?
I can share. Inez Mackey from Prairie State College. Very excited. This is our first year under the NSAW grant with our Healthcare Connect project. And what that does is it gives under 5 core certification programs that we do offer at the college, the incentivization of them being able to do the clinical experience as a paid experience, where normally, anybody who has ever done externships, internships, they do not pay you. Like, it's thank you for your service. And so this incentivizes the people who have completed those certification programs to be able to get that clinical experience that's needed, because when they apply after they have completed the certificate program, what are they asking for when you do the application if you have experience? And so I'm very excited. Like I said, this is our first year. We got a late start due to staffing issues. But going into 2027, I'm looking for us being able to start fresh at the new year, that all those who are able to participate and take advantage of it has that opportunity. So it's a great work, and we're looking forward to it. The core certifications that we chose to work with is phlebotomy, which you mentioned earlier, Alex. CMAs was on there, but I think we're replacing that with doula. Sterilization technician, pharmacy technicians, and I'm missing one, CMA, dialysis and patient care tech.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just an awesome opportunity. I've had a blast in working the grant on this year, and so we're just looking forward to going bigger and better.
Excellent. Yeah, it sounds like an excellent program. Thanks, Ines. Thanks for sharing.
I'm happy to share as well. I know this is Kinsey from Carl Sandburg College. I know I previously touched base with Alex. We're under some restructuring currently, and I'm working on some programming to expand into the fall, but then also looking to the spring as well. And something that I am working on currently is a Rural Leadership Institute. For those that don't know, Sandburg is a rather expansive district, and we are really trying to expand our programming outside of our two campuses in Carthage and Galesburg. So I'm working on creating a leadership academy of sorts that is specific to locations within our rural area, and will really be able to connect local leaders with opportunities that are within their rural areas as well. So that's great. Very excited about that. And then I'm also one of the goals of the college currently is to increase the amount of community members that set foot on campus. And so I am looking at creating a career exploration day in which we can have our credit faculty members working with local employers so that we can have an opportunity to have an event where faculty members and employers can work together to do hands-on activities and showcase ways in which we can fulfill both non-credit learning opportunities, but then also credit, and then showcase possibly potentials to apprenticeships and just really understand what is available within our district. The idea really stems from some successful career exploration camps we had this summer, utilizing the Taking Back the Trades grant, which is also through ICCB. We had students come on campus, take on hands-on learning activities that were specific to some of our career pathways that we have on campus. We also did employer site visits. And so it was really wonderful to be able to showcase opportunities within the college, but then also within our local workforce. And so I think the idea of bridging the gap and making it one day where individuals of all ages can come might be really successful. For us, we currently have opportunities similar to that, but they're specific only to eighth graders. And I know that we do have a lot of non-traditional students as well. So this might be a really great opportunity for individuals that are maybe wanting to make a career change to come on campus and understand what their opportunities are.
Excellent. Thanks, Kenzie. Thanks for sharing. And I know Sandburg's a large district. I'm actually a Sandburg alum, so Galesburg's my hometown. So, yeah, it's great that you're really engaging with the rural population there. I know once again that's sort of my neck of the woods. I know that there's a lot of employers of the need of certain training services out there. So yeah, great work. Yeah. And Brittany, I think I saw some things pop up there in the chat.
Yep.
You'd like to, sure.
We have, I believe this is from Leah. So a challenge is recruiting for training programs where the industry is hungry but low paying. And then Lindsay says career camps are great.
Okay. And real quick, Leah, well, thanks for both of you for sharing. That's one thing we can kind of segue into our third question here, if you'd like to, real quick. Some of the challenges that people have encountered over the course of previous grant cycles. So, Leah, one question you brought up was enrollments. We know that's kind of been a challenge for programs. Say if you are proposing a program, you have it scheduled, and then you schedule it, and well, there's just not enough enrollment, right? So, with that in regard, are there any strategies, any sort of marketing strategies, or anything that any of the other colleges have done to kind of help with enrollment for their particular offerings? Or has this also been a challenge that your college has encountered as well?
Alex, can I expand a little bit? And thank you for sharing that out.
Yes.
I'm sure we all experience initiatives, from on high where they're wanting us to work with these industries and we want to help fill those roles. So we're asked to build programs and work with employers. But yeah, as I said, the challenge is really getting folks interested in that training where the outcome is going to be a job that pays $17, $18 an hour.
Anybody else have a similar or any comments? Because that is a very good point to bring up, right? We know that some of the positions that are in high demand, when the outcome is a more of a lower paying job, that can kind of make it hard for students to invest their time into that, right? Are there? Oh, I see something popped up in the chat here. Maybe that's
So Christina is asking, are we able to provide a stipend to people who need to complete field work for a competency-based certification program?
That was for a later discussion. I wasn't applying to this one, so sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm not trying to change any subjects right now, so.
No, understandable.
Yeah.
And providing stipends for participants who are seeking to complete that is allowable cost under the NSAW grant. So that would be yes. Just to answer your question, Kristen. But
And then FY27, you would put that in the grant exclusive category of the budget.
yes, yes, that is another change that we've made for FY27 as well.
So on the, and Alex, this is Dave from Daily, on the enrollment, to help with that, one of the things that's worked pretty well for us is working with the community organizations. And there's a couple that whenever they get a group of community members together to talk about their services, they'll invite us to come present to them. And then whenever we get new classes scheduled, we'll send them, that information. And they've been really good about promoting it with their, constituents, and then applying to a range of different classes that we've had that were supported by, this grant.
Thank you, David. Yeah, we definitely
Yeah.
do some of that. I wonder if you have any specific organizations that you're referring to that maybe we're not already thinking of, but we talk with our DHS, we talk with our local career services in the villages in our district. Yeah, is there anything specific that you're thinking of?
These aren't, let's say, large organizations. I think they're very localized. So, one of them is Inner City Muslim Action Network. So I think they're in, I don't know that they're statewide. There's another organization, Revolution Institute. I don't think they're statewide either. So they're fairly small, but they're powerful within their neighborhoods, I guess. So I don't know if that's helpful.
The other thing would be economic development organizations or your economic development folks within your city, county, area, region. Ours are extremely helpful. Also, your local WIOA One Stop would be another place.
I'm curious if anyone who's struggling with enrollment, one thing that we're looking at and we've started to work on is looking at what barriers we're creating. So our application to apply for tuition waivers or scholarships, we were finding is a little bit more tedious than it maybe needed to be. And perhaps people are doing this quickly on their phone and stopping in the middle and not hitting submit. And so we've been kind of trying to streamline our processes. I don't know if others, that's actually something I pitched to Dave Lance that we can maybe do at the upcoming ISET conference, which unfortunately I won't be at, but my team will, is sharing out what language are you using to promote? How are you getting the outreach, out there? And what is your application form? If you have one, what does it look like? What are you asking for? How do we minimize the barriers that we're creating for those potential applicants out there?
Thank you, Billy. Those are very good questions to consider. And you're making me think about a kind of a secondary question I have too, which is that, we have lots of grant funds to give away, but because some of our programs are open enrollment, we have folks who go ahead and sign up and pay out of pocket before we can even offer them, the funds. And then internally, our folks don't want to refund and then offer them funds. So I'm also wondering how folks are catching people before they register. We have a general interest form where we, reach out to them if they go through that way, and info sessions and kind of your traditional things. But folks who just kind of tag into the open enrollment, we're like, hey, we have free money, don't do it.
So I don't know if this is a guaranteed solution, but on every class, career training focused open enrollment class that is eligible for the grant, Vivian and I ensure that we put a blurb on the landing page so that if someone is looking at that landing page and considering paying the $199, but then they see, oh, if you're eligible, you should apply here, they can at least go to that application form, look at the eligibility requirements and determine maybe I should apply for this before I go ahead and pay. And I don't know if that's working. We don't have a way to really track it, but it's at least the information's out there for people who are just browsing or might have found us in Google or through our catalog.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to say, scholarship funds may be available everywhere possible. Thank you.
At ICC, what we did this year is we worked with our Economic Development Council and our chamber to offer out essential skills training that was for all businesses. And then we're also doing a leadership skills training coming up starting in September. And so we just built the cost for that with the grant in mind and then recognized the grant. So like if someone was to take the essential skills training that we have, and if we were to offer this at their business, it's going to cost like $6,000, but for them to send somebody, not for one person, but like for like to bring it in. So like if they want to send like 2 or 3 people, like a smaller business wants to send 2 or 3 people to essential skills training, they don't want to send their entire staff, or they don't have time for everyone to be gone at the same time to be trained. Then we said, okay, well, this is worth this amount. And you can send your people for $150. And we're able to offer this at this price because of our ICCB grant. And so that's been helpful. I know it's not like taking away the cost completely, but we definitely feel like there's a little bit of a value to having skin in the game too. But I do like the idea of offering up grant too, like the way Billy was talking. That's really good too.
Mhm. I'm trying to see here. Brittany, was there a comment in the chat here regarding? Yeah.
Well, so Teresa put in the chat, Moraine Valley has done recruitment from WIOA and adult education programs. Another option for low-paying certifications, such as basic nurse assistant, is to promote entry to a career pathway and to higher-paying jobs.
And I'm glad that was brought up. So one question, just kind of aside here real quick. We received some questions regarding serving adult education students through the grant. So it is allowable to serve adult education students through NSAW funds. The only thing that we do not allow is building, I guess, the Title II programming using NSAW funds, if that makes sense. So if you are partnering with your adult education to kind of form like a pathway, and recruiting from adult education programs, that is allowable. I wanted to kind of throw that out there for everybody, for everyone's information. So, and once again, it's a great thing to see the collaboration internally at your organizations. So, okay, were there any other challenges? I know that we kind of focused on enrollment here for a minute, but were there any other challenges that anybody else was encountering in previous grant cycles? And if they had, are there any strategies that you had developed to address them as well? And I think I just saw something pop in the chat.
Yep. So Billy put
See, I
in
don't know
the
if I can.
chat
Yeah.
for a challenge. Hang on, I want to make sure I didn't miss one before. No, okay. So Billy put, we waited too long to submit our budget modification request. By the time it was approved, there wasn't enough time remaining to spend the approved funds before winter break.
So that is, yeah. So I believe, and Chris, just to make sure if I believe that our modification deadline for the FY26 grant is it November 1st? It's 60 days before the end of the grant.
60 days. Let me make sure I'm actually saying the right date.
And my feedback is just like, if anyone is doing anything that might take more than 60 days to execute, like ICCP gets 30 days to get back to you. So then you're down to 30 days, and now we're up against winter break. So we really should have just done it way before that deadline. And now we learned, and we're doing the FY26 one much sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is November 1st. And I can say I actually raised moving it to 45 days. And that got shut down pretty quickly. And the reason I did is because the way it works out in your quarter end, the day after your third quarter usually is when that budget mod deadline is due. So there's no time for us to review your reports. There's no time for us to reach out and, triage and talk to you and figure things out. So I had actually proposed moving it to 45 days, and kind of in line with what Billy said was, the response from grants management was, then they only have 15 days to do everything. If we take our full 30. And I will say I ran the numbers, and we're taking a little less than 20. So for the job form one. So we're pretty, we're getting them through as fast as we can. But yeah, that as you get close to the end, things can definitely get tight, especially not just in the reporting, but with the spend down as well. So that's why that is one reason why Alex has you all email him, those expenses, so we can have those conversations early. And I always encourage someone, if you're worried about your spend down, call us. We'll get Alex, myself, and Sarah from grants management on a call, and we'll work through all the possible options with you, because we don't want the money back.
Exactly. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Let's see, Brittany, I think we had 2 chats come in. I don't know if I feel like if I click this, it's gonna. Oh, wait, it does work. Okay, look at that.
And Alex, I have no problem sharing them out if that's easier.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go and do that.
Okay. Lindsay did make a comment about it does become challenging with dates for reporting and budget modifications being close.
And so when it comes to budget modifications, we do have our own internal process where it can take up to 30 days. And like Chris said, me and Sarah are working pretty diligently to make sure that we don't hit that 30-day mark, right? Because we know that it takes time to get these I guess this process in order on your end as well. But as soon as you have any questions about modifying your budget, or if you need to submit a budget modification, the sooner the better, I would say. Because once we run into that, if you get closer to the November deadline, then it does kind of creates like a little bottleneck, I guess, for approval and things like that. And plus, if we receive a bunch of budget modifications right on the end of October, we got to work through all those, review, so. Okay, well, let me look at time here. Okay, we got a little bit of time. So I'm going to move on to the middle point, the second bullet point here. So thanks for everyone for sharing and for offering your guidance for those challenges. Are there any areas of technical assistance that any of you would like more guidance on from the ICCB team when it comes into FY27? I know that we kind of talked about the non-credit to credit transitions and sort of what that's going to look like moving throughout the grant cycle. Were there any other areas that you were looking for a bit more guidance on? Budget modifications, scope modifications, I mean, anything that comes to mind, really. Or these could also be possible topics for operational meetings. Was there anything that you had in the back of your mind that would be a good topic for a future operational meeting as well?
I think just a suggestion as far as the operational meetings, it would be helpful perhaps to include one topic of interest in each of the sessions, in addition to updates, such as, for example, from me, I would like to learn from other institutions how they recruit businesses for customized training. I think that might be a hot topic, or anything else really, like if we could include just one topic discussion and sharing. And especially if we know in advance what it is, I think there's more like possibility that people will, prepare and share their experiences, and we can learn from each other.
Sure. No, it's a great idea. I'm taking notes here real quick. Okay, thank you, Rena. Okay, is there any other areas, any suggestions? Check the chat here. Okay. Well, with that, we'll move on to our final. And just to reiterate too, if there are any suggestions for any topics that you're really interested in exploring for future operational meetings, be sure to send those items to me via email, and I'd be happy to work with you on kind of structuring those out and getting those built for future operational meetings as well. So, okay, so for just logistical housekeeping items, there's not a whole lot here for today. I just want to remind everybody that for our upcoming NSAW learning communities, the next 3 are going to be a AI series. We've worked with, and maybe Dalton or Brittany could speak a little more to this particular topic, but there are 3 sessions that sort of build upon one another when it comes to AI, especially in the higher education space. So for October 13th, the topic will be unlocking the potential of AI in higher education professionals. For November 10th, we have AI powered productivity. And then for December 8th, leveraging AI for strategic integration are going to be, so really until the end of the grant cycle here, we're going to be hosting these AI topics and how you can use them for your day-to-day functions, and how to kind of build AI into your processes at the college as well. And Dalton or Brittany, if there's anything else that you want to share about those, if I missed anything.
I'm putting a link in the chat as well. Claire Brady is going to be who is presenting on the series. And so I am putting a link into the chat. It has at the very top is the information for the learning communities and the registration links. And then it's also got recordings from previous learning communities. And then if you scroll down, that's where you'll find previous operational meetings and then additional resources as well. So I am getting that in the chat here momentarily.
Okay, thank you. And then also, once I send out these slides, the link here, the NSAW grantee support page, that'll take you right to all of the resources also that Brittany's going to put in the chat. If you don't catch it here, if you want to share the page with others who are working on the grant at your institutions as well. And then for another reminder, so the NOFO will be released tomorrow, August 21st. So be sure to check out the ICCB grant opportunities page or grant opportunities and resources page for the full NOFO and all of the required templates. The applications for the grant will be due September 24th. So about a month in between until the applications will be due. The technical assistance session, which the link is inside the NOFO as well. I think it's about page 13 of we have a table of contents built into the NOFO, so you'll be able to easily find it. That will be hosted on September 1st, 2026, and I believe it is from 10 to 11:30. Be sure to mark your calendars. Anybody who you think needs to be on the meeting as well, be sure to invite them. We're going to be going over a lot of important information. And then we're going to have our FY27 kickoff meeting on January 15th of 2027. So once we have our TA session, we will be sending out the invite for that kickoff meeting as well. And the kickoff meeting is where we'll be sharing a lot more of the sort of operational processes for the grant as well, kind of going over the job form, quarterly reporting, sharing any updates as well. So be sure to put a calendar hold if you'd like to for January 15th. And like I said, I will be sending out that invitation shortly. So, and with that ends our topics for the day. So thank you all for joining us here. Were there any final questions or comments? Thanks you, Brittany, for putting the grantee support in the chat.
Alex, this is Vicky from SWIC. Just a quick question.
Yeah.
For that technical assistance, is that meeting 10 to 11:30? What was the time on that one again?
It would be 10 to 11. Yep, 10 to 11:30.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, any other questions? Or wrap up for the day? Okay. Well, like I said, thank you all for joining us here today. If you have any questions in the meantime before the application's released tomorrow, be sure to reach out to me or Levon. And Chris is also another resource that you can reach out to if you have any questions. He also works very closely on the grant here with us. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and we will all be looking forward to reading your applications here soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Everybody.